Why, Paul? Because we can listen to things so much more easily now with MP3s, and the sound quality is better, and you don't have to turn it over. And why is the cassette making a comeback?
Well, it's bubbled up from like indie labels, and small bands have been doing it. It's a very cheap way of putting out music, although there's not a lot of people who own cassette players anymore to be able to listen to it.
I don't, do you?
No, not at all. And it's sort of bubbled up, and people have, there's been a nostalgia towards that. Vinyl has made a comeback, and I feel off the back of that, some of the enthusiasts for cassettes have thought, let's put our cassettes out as well. I think because technology moves so fast, people quite quickly go back and feel quite nostalgic about what they've lost.
We've talked about vinyl before, and there is an inherent sound quality to vinyl, a warmer sound. People talk about a fuller sound than you get with digital, but cassettes, the sound quality is not great.
It's not amazing. I remember chewing up a lot of great albums on my old Walkman back in the 90s. I think what the cassette does have is this mixtape, the idea that you sit there and you physically make a mixtape for someone. It's so much more romantic and more fun than making a playlist when it sort of starts and stops.
Which is clearly what this couple did way back in the day. I'd love to know what she's listening to. I mean, for me, cassettes reminds me of Prince's Batman album. Now That's What I Call Music series. Everyone will be thinking now about the cassettes they had when they were younger.
What's funny is that a few of the albums, like you mentioned Bieber and Kanye West releasing albums, I remember it being terrible because you'd get the balance between tracks would be the same as on a record or a CD. And you'd have to fast forward to the end of side one to get to side two, by which time you'd run your batteries out, or you had to get your pencil out and forward it. It was such an impractical format, but I think that's probably why it's become so hip. You almost have to suffer to have a cassette for it.
We can see briefly how impractical it seems to modern kids. This clip we found on social media, a couple of teenagers encountering a Walkman for the first time.
I see it, I got it. Open it up.
Just goes to show you how antiquated these things must seem to the younger generation. Is it set to last, Paul, briefly?
I'm not convinced. I think it's a bit of a fad. I think it's, look at me, I've got this old technology. It's happening with phones at the moment. Apparently people are going back to their really old phones because they want to look really cool. Ultimately, something else will come along. And there'll be a nostalgia probably for smartphones. Or
wax cylinders or something like that. Paul, many thanks.